Hello and welcome viewers to this special broadcast on Sansad TV. I am Teena Jha. In this special edition of Samvaad, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome a very distinguished guest, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, who is currently on an official visit to India. Now, during the course of his visit, he met President Draupadi Murmu and Vice President Jagdeep Thakur. In his meeting with the Prime Minister, he first held delegation-level talks, and then a number of MOUs were also signed between India and Jamaica. So the key outcomes of his visit, the experience he's had in India and the memories that he's carrying with him is something that we'll have a conversation about with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, his maiden visit to India. Let me begin first by welcoming the Honorable Prime Minister to Sansad TV. Sir, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us on this program.
Thanks for having me.
To begin with, sir, since it's your maiden visit to India, help us and our viewers understand about the kind of experience that you had, and we hope that you had a seamless and smooth experience here in the country.
First, let me say that India is a wonderful place. The hospitality and the arrangements that were made for my visit were first class. And the diversity of the people and culture and the innovation of the people and the economy are things to which Jamaica aspire and indeed are inspirational.
We are glad to hear that you had a smooth experience here in the country. Now, let's talk about some of the outcomes that you feel and that you are taking back while you were here in India. You met the Prime Minister, you had delegation-level talks, a number of MOUs were also signed. So if you could share with us some of the important agreements that have been agreed upon between both countries, both India and Jamaica.
So we signed MOUs on sports and culture in terms of collaboration and that kind of people-to-people endeavor, which really forms the foundation. Critically, however, we focused on the unified payment infrastructure and the digital public infrastructure, both of which are critical elements of creation of a digital society. India is a leader in this area, and India has done fantastic in creating the technology. Jamaica is seeking to leverage that, and so we have signed an MOU to partner in this regard. We've also had MOUs on security and defense, and we're discussing many other areas. But in addition to the bilateral conversations, there are many business-to-business conversations going on about how do we increase trade and investment between our two countries.
Sure. I'll come to the question on trade and investment and the kind of opportunities that you're looking forward to. But I'll take up the question on your visit to the Parliament House. You had the opportunity to see the new Parliament building as well as the Samvidhan Sadan. How did it feel to be at the place that represents the world's largest democracy and which reflects the will of 140 crore people?
Well, Jamaica and India have many similarities. We were both colonized. We're both part of the Commonwealth. And we're both very strong and robust democracy. India, the largest democracy in the world, and Jamaica, the first black democracy in the world. Now, both our parliament buildings were colonial buildings. And both of them would have outlived their useful life and probably would not be able to function given the demands of modern governance and democracy. And so I watched with great interest the building of the new Indian Parliament, while at the same time preserving the old building, and both of them coexisting. I consider it a distinct honor to have been given the privilege to tour the Parliament. Let me say that your new Parliament is a clear reflection of India's modernization attempts of the vision that India has for itself. The Parliament is high-tech, it's paperless, but it does project the aspiration and ideals of India. It is a magnificent building. And yet, right across is the old building, which preserves the history and the character and charm. And so you have both of the best right in the same space. So it was very impressive. and it has given me even more inspiration as I lead my country on this journey of establishing a new parliament. Our parliament building is old. It simply cannot function to deliver the services that a parliament delivers to its people. Outside of that, the parliament building is symbolic. It's an important statement about who we are, the pride we take, and an expression of the sovereignty and aspirations of the people. So we are on our journey to build our new parliament, and so this visit reinforced in my mind the need to have Jamaica's parliament built.
We wish you the best with that endeavour. A related question, and since we're talking about Parliament, are there insights from the Indian parliamentary process that has maybe surprised you or maybe inspired you as you go back home?
Well, in spite of the infrastructure shortcoming of the Parliament, the Jamaican Parliament does function very well. But the integration of technology into the parliamentary process is something that was very useful to see working firsthand. We are trying to become a paperless parliament. We're clearly not there. But India has a totally paperless parliament, and it functions seamlessly. And so we will be looking very closely at that and the efficiency that brings to the parliamentary process.
How do you see your visit to the country solidify India-Jamaica relationship?
A bilateral official visit is always a signal of both countries' intent to deepen relationships, but it is what happens after that really determines. So the MOUs would be the formalization of areas of intent, but it is the continued work. It is what happens beneath that that ensures that the aspiration for deeper relations actually come true. And so I'm here meeting with businesses, meeting with critical stakeholders, and making the connections which would drive trade and investment, but also create the people-to-people connection in sports and culture. And if you get it right at the bilateral level, at the business-to-business level, and at the people-to-people level, then you would have really fulfilled the goal of having deeper relations.
So what are the kind of trade and investment opportunities that we're looking at?
India is the pharmacy of the world. The Indian pharmaceutical industry is massive, and Jamaica could benefit in significant trade in pharmaceuticals, in technology, and not just high technology, but technology that can be applied to addressing issues of poverty and climate change, improving agricultural output and improving bureaucracy, reducing bureaucracy in developing countries. India is really the voice of the global south in many respects. And the development challenges that exist in many developing countries are the challenges that India would face. And in fact, India would have worked out quite significantly a roadmap as to how to overcome these challenges. And so there is a substantial benefit in partnering with India on issues, for example, energy investment, solar and renewable energies, participating and collaborating with India on developing the country's digitalization efforts. So, for example, Jamaica is on track to becoming a digital society. An important part of that is having a digital payment system. India has already solved that problem. So there is a great opportunity for the transfer of technology, but also for businesses to develop within this ecosystem of a unified payment infrastructure and a general digital public infrastructure. So there are many opportunities for expansion of business, trade and investment in areas that are not just for the private good, but for the public good as well.
We hope the potential areas that you mentioned will be leveraged in the years to come, and we'll see the relationship elevate to greater heights. But let me deviate the discussion and go on to what the Prime Minister said after you met him. He said there are 4 C's which define the India-Jamaica relationship, and the 2 C's that I would like to touch upon in my conversation with you is culture and cricket. So first, to culture, you happen to visit Varanasi, which is also one of the oldest cities in India. Incidentally, it's also the parliamentary constituency of our Prime Minister. So tell us about how it was like being in Varanasi.
It was a distinct honor that Prime Minister Modi would recommend my visit to Varanasi. A very spiritual place. And I was touched, and I did feel the spirituality of visiting some of your sacred sites and understanding much more about Buddhism and Hinduism. It was, you read about these cultures and religions, but when you actually get very close to the sacred sites and the artifacts, and you get to hear firsthand the stories and the mythology and the religious beliefs and principles, it is a more three-dimensional understanding of it. And I think for the brief time that we had to do the tours and to actually interface with some of the curated events, I leave India with a greater understanding of the spirituality and the culture.
The other C stands for cricket. So if I may ask you, sir, who's your favorite cricketer? And I hope he's Indian.
That's a difficult question. You're going to get me into problems. I mean, clearly, Chris Gale is someone who I know personally, and he's such a great ambassador for the sport. But, I've always liked Brian Lara and Sachin Tendulkar. They're great cricketers, but they have such even personalities. They're very good ambassadors for the sport. And I grew up like many Jamaicans following cricket because cricket for many West Indians would be a kind of source of liberation, and it would be a display of the prowess of the West Indian people, particularly when we would defeat countries like England and so forth. Clearly, those days have gone, and the space has changed for the sport. But I still maintain that the best days for West Indies cricket are ahead of it.
Okay. Another C that India is extremely proud of is its rich cuisine, sir. Did you have the opportunity to try out any of the Indian delicacies while you were here?
Not many. Not many. So I suspect that on my next visit, if it is not an official one, I'd probably have the opportunity to roam and explore the cuisine of India.
Sure. How are we boosting the people-to-people connect? And I believe if the people-to-people ties between two countries are stronger, their relationships last long. So how are India and Jamaica working towards encouraging this bond between people?
I mean, outside of this visit and the instrumental actions that we will take to encourage and develop business-to-business and people-to-people relations, Jamaica has a very strong Indian diaspora. I believe Prime Minister Modi said it would be probably the oldest diaspora, Indian diaspora, in the Western world. So we have between 70,000 and 80,000 persons of Indian descent and heritage living in Jamaica, and many of them maintain direct contact with India. In fact, on my delegation, I have 3 Jamaicans who are of Indian descent who accompanied me. Many of them, they were born in India, but left India many years ago. In fact, my special advisor is someone who was born in India but grew up in Jamaica. So the connection, the people-to-people connection is very deep, and Indians in Jamaica have contributed so much to the diversity and richness of the Jamaican culture, and yet they have integrated into the melting pot of Jamaica. Our motto, of course, is out of many, one people.
Absolutely. One last question now, as you wrap up your visit, how do you dream of a future between India and Jamaica?
So I see a bright future between India and Jamaica. We do have similar outlook on world affairs. We are both strong democracies. We both believe in a multilateral world. And we are both struggling with some of the same developmental issues, whether it is climate change, poverty, and economic growth. And India is far advanced in many of these areas, and Jamaica can, in many ways, follow that pathway and roadmap set by India and leverage some of the technological advancement that India has championed. But I think that the relationship will grow deeper as we take advantage of the opportunities that exist for trade in many areas I've mentioned, in trade and investment, in agriculture, in knowledge processing, in pharmaceuticals, in security. But never underestimate the large market that exists in the creative industries, in music and film in particular. So we want to invite Bollywood to Jamaica, because there are many stories that I'm sure a Bollywood take on Jamaican stories would open an incredible window into Jamaica and India.
Jamaica has a rich culture of music, so we hope we're able to see that blend between Bollywood and Jamaican music in the times to come. It's been an absolute pleasure, Mr. Prime Minister, to speak to you about your India visit and the experience that you've had so far, some of the memories that you carry with you. Thank you very much for speaking to us on Sansad TV. So that's it from us on this telecast, viewers. Thank you very much for your time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.